In homes all across the country, the same quiet drama plays out night after night. A lamp clicks on, slippers shuffle down the hallway. Sleep breaks apart for a trip to the bathroom that was never part of the evening plan. For many older adults, this has become so common that it feels normal. But tonight, the message is different. The doctor is revealing how to drink water in a smarter way so you can avoid getting up at night so often, not by dehydration, not by gimmicks. By understanding timing, bladder habits, and the quiet body rhythms that change with age. Because restful sleep is not a luxury. It is part of health, memory, balance, mood, and independence.
Let us start with the big picture. Waking up at night to urinate, what doctors call nocturia, is incredibly common in older adults. And I want to be clear, common does not mean harmless. When sleep gets interrupted again and again, the effects spill into the next day. People feel more tired, more foggy, more irritable, and less steady on their feet. That matters a lot in seniors because a nighttime walk to the bathroom is one of those moments when falls happen. It is dark, you are groggy, and your balance is not at its best. This is why I do not like the phrase, "that is just aging." Yes, aging can make nighttime urination more likely, but frequent bathroom trips at night can also be a sign that the body is making too much urine during sleep hours, that fluids are being timed poorly, or that something else is going on like sleep apnea, diabetes, leg swelling, prostate enlargement, or bladder issues. In other words, this is not just about the bladder. It is about sleep quality, safety, and sometimes an underlying medical condition. So the goal is not to stop drinking water. The goal is to drink enough, but drink it intelligently. That is the difference. A well-hydrated person can still sleep better at night if most fluids come earlier in the day and the evening routine stops working against the bladder.
Once upon a time, the human body was built for long stretches of darkness and recovery. Night was meant for repair, not repeated alarms from the kidneys. In a healthy rhythm, the body usually makes less urine while you sleep. Hormones help conserve water. The bladder gets a chance to stay quiet. But as the years pass, that rhythm often softens. The night shift changes hands. The kidneys may send out more urine, sleep becomes lighter, and conditions that seemed unrelated by day suddenly make their presence known after sundown.
Here's the part that helps everything make sense. Nocturia is not always caused by the exact same problem. Sometimes the body produces too much urine all day long. Sometimes the bladder cannot hold as much as it used to. Sometimes a person wakes up for another reason, like poor sleep, and then notices the urge to urinate. But in many older adults, the biggest culprit is something called nocturnal polyuria. That simply means the body is producing too much urine at night. Why would that happen? A few common reasons. First, drinking a lot late in the day, especially in the evening. Second, caffeine and alcohol, which can increase urine production and irritate the bladder. Third, salty meals, which can affect fluid balance. Fourth, leg swelling. This one surprises people. Fluid can collect in the legs during the day. Then when you lie down, that fluid returns to the bloodstream and gets filtered by the kidneys at night. Suddenly, your body has extra fluid to get rid of while you're trying to sleep. And then there are medical contributors. Diabetes can increase urine output. Heart or kidney problems can shift how the body handles fluid. Sleep apnea is a big one that people often miss. In men, an enlarged prostate may add another layer. So yes, water matters, but timing, swelling, sleep quality, medications, and medical conditions all matter too. That is why the smartest approach is not one magic trick. It is a set of small changes that work together.
Modern life loves simple slogans. Drink more water, stay hydrated, carry the giant bottle. Sip all day. And for daytime health, that advice often has merit. But the body does not read slogans. It reads timing. A glass of water at breakfast and a glass of water beside the bed are not the same event. One supports the day. The other may purchase a ticket to the hallway in the middle of the night.
So let me give you the central rule of this video. Front load your hydration. In plain English, drink most of your fluids earlier in the day, not late at night. That alone can make a surprisingly big difference. Many people do the opposite without realizing it. They stay busy, barely drink through the morning, then have a larger amount with dinner, tea after dinner, maybe another glass while watching TV, and then wonder why the bladder starts calling. In the middle of the night, a much better pattern is to hydrate steadily from morning into the afternoon. Have fluids with breakfast. Have more with lunch. Keep drinking normally through the earlier part of the day. Then, as evening approaches, start tapering. A very practical rule is to finish your last meaningful drink about 2 to 3 hours before bed. That gives your body time to process fluid before you lie down. And remember, all fluids count. Water counts, obviously. But so do tea, coffee, juice, soup, milk, sparkling water, and even foods with a lot of liquid. Some people tell me they stop drinking water at night, but they still have a giant bowl of soup, herbal tea, fruit, and dessert. The bladder does not care that the fluid arrived in a more charming package. This is not a command to become dry and thirsty. It is simply a shift in schedule. Hydrate early, taper later. That is usually the sweet spot.
Then come the evening accomplices, the innocent cup of coffee that was not so innocent, the glass of wine that promised relaxation, the salty dinner that lingered like a secret pact with midnight. Not every villain wears a cape. Some arrive in mugs, goblets, and takeout containers.
Let us talk about those hidden triggers, because this is where many people lose the battle without noticing. Caffeine is an obvious one, but not just because it wakes the brain. It can also increase urine production and irritate the bladder. So if you're very sensitive, even an afternoon coffee can echo into the night. Alcohol can do something similar. People think of it as a sleep aid because it makes them drowsy, but it often leads to worse sleep later and more bathroom trips. Then there's dinner. A very salty evening meal can shift fluid balance in a way that does not help nighttime urination. Some people also notice that acidic or spicy foods irritate the bladder, especially if they already have urgency or frequency. That does not mean everyone needs a bland dinner forever. It just means it is worth noticing patterns. If every bad night follows the same late salty meal, the body is giving you a clue. A better evening plan is simple. Choose non-caffeinated drinks later in the day. Keep alcohol minimal, or better yet earlier and occasional if nighttime urination is a major problem. Eat a lighter dinner instead of a giant heavy one loaded with salt. And avoid turning the last few hours before bed into an all-you-can-drink situation with tea, soup, and dessert on top of each other. The bladder loves patterns, and unfortunately it remembers your evening habits very well.
But perhaps the strangest twist in this story happens far from the bladder itself. It begins at the ankles. During the day, gravity stores fluid in the lower legs like a patient banker. By bedtime, the feet may look puffy, the socks may leave marks, and the evidence is easy to miss. Then the body reclines, the vault opens, and the saved fluid returns to circulation. The kidneys, ever dutiful, begin their accounting. What seemed like a leg problem by day becomes a bathroom problem by night.
This is one of the most useful tips for seniors who notice swelling in the feet, ankles, or lower legs. If fluid is pooling there during the day, part of your nighttime urination may actually be starting in your legs. When you lie flat, that fluid shifts back into circulation, the kidneys filter it, and now your body has more urine to make while you're asleep. So what can you do? First, elevate your legs in the evening for a while, especially after dinner. Nothing fancy, just getting them up can help move some of that fluid earlier before sleep. Second, if your doctor says it is appropriate, compression socks during the day can reduce fluid buildup. Third, stay physically active if you're able, because movement helps circulation. And here's another simple move that matters a lot. Empty your bladder right before bed, even if you do not feel a huge urge. Some people also benefit from what is sometimes called double voiding. That means you urinate, wait a short moment, relax, and try again to make sure the bladder is as empty as possible before sleep. It is not dramatic, but these small habits stack up. If you take a water pill or another medication that increases urination, timing may also matter. Many people do better when those medicines are taken earlier in the day, but that is something to discuss with your own clinician, not change randomly on your own.
And if the night journey still happens, there is one mistake that quietly invites a sequel. A person wakes, goes to the bathroom, then rewards the effort with a few sips of water under the kindly logic of, I may as well drink since I am already up. The body, not known for sentiment, interprets this as new business.
If you do wake up to urinate, try not to restart the whole cycle. Go to the bathroom, keep the lighting soft, and head back to bed. Avoid bright lights if possible. Avoid checking your phone. Avoid turning the moment into a little midnight event. The more awake your brain becomes, the harder it is to fall asleep again, and the more likely you are to notice every little signal from your bladder. And unless there is a specific medical reason that you truly need fluid right then, avoid drinking water after that bathroom trip. This surprises people, but it makes sense. If you get up, pee, drink, and lie back down, you have basically scheduled the next round. Safety matters here too. Use a nightlight. Keep the path to the bathroom clear. Move rugs, cords, or clutter that could catch your foot. Wear stable slippers if you need them. If stairs are involved, be extra cautious. For someone with major mobility issues, a bedside commode can even be safer than repeated walks in the dark. These are not glamorous solutions, but they can prevent injuries. So yes, the nighttime bathroom trip is about fluid and bladder habits, but it is also about not waking the brain too much and not turning a manageable interruption into a full disruption. Quiet trip, quiet return, back to sleep.
Yet the body is never only a collection of separate parts. The bladder speaks to the legs, the kidneys answer the clock, sleep whispers to hormones, and strength influences everything. Even the muscles of the pelvic floor, hidden and often forgotten, may play their own supporting role in this after-dark performance.
This is why I like a whole system approach instead of one tiny tip. During the day, stay active if you can. Walking and gentle exercise help circulation, sleep quality, and overall fluid handling. Pelvic floor exercises, often called Kegels, may also help some people by improving bladder control. They are not magic, but done consistently, they can be useful. Another very smart tool is a bladder diary. For a few days, write down what you drink, when you drink it, when you urinate, and roughly how often you get up at night. Patterns appear fast. Maybe the issue is really that evening tea. Maybe it is a late medication. Maybe it is big fluid intake after exercise. Maybe it is much worse on days with leg swelling. Once you can see the pattern, you stop guessing. And this is also where I remind you not to blame everything on aging if the pattern is severe. If you are waking frequently despite good habits, or if the problem is getting worse, it is worth looking for an underlying cause. Things like sleep apnea, uncontrolled diabetes, heart issues, kidney issues, prostate enlargement, urinary infection, or certain medications can all contribute. Sometimes the fix is not just behavioral. Sometimes there is a treatable medical reason behind the symptom. Good habits are still the foundation, but persistent nocturia deserves a proper look.
Of course, once people hear that evening fluids can be a problem, a new fear tends to appear. What if cutting back at night means dehydration? What if the cure becomes its own mistake? A fair question, the answer, as in so many matters of health, is not extremism but proportion. The body does not ask for punishment, it asks for rhythm. Drink enough while the sun is up, and the night becomes a quieter guest instead of a battlefield.
I never want this advice misunderstood as drink as little as possible. That is not the goal. Good hydration still matters for circulation, kidney function, energy, and overall health. The trick is not less water overall. The trick is better timing. Most people can meet their fluid needs during the daytime and early evening without loading the bladder right before sleep. So how do you know you're doing this sensibly? You should not feel chronically parched all day. You should not be dizzy because you are avoiding fluids. You should not purposely ignore strong thirst just to win a few hours of sleep. And if you are sick with vomiting, diarrhea, fever, or low blood pressure, your fluid needs may be different for a while. That is not the moment to rigidly follow a bedtime fluid rule like it is sacred law. For many seniors, the best balance is simple. Hydrate well earlier, taper later. Adjust based on your body, your doctor's advice, and any medical conditions you have. The point is to stop accidentally creating a nighttime problem with a poorly timed habit. This is about respecting the clock, not fearing water.
There is a final myth that clings to the edges of this subject like fog. If cutting back in the evening helps, then cutting back as much as possible must help even more. But the wise approach is balance, not punishment. The goal is not to wage war on thirst. The goal is to respect the body clock. Too little fluid is its own trouble. Too much, too late is another. Wisdom lives in the middle.
So let me tie this together into a simple daily plan. Drink normally and consistently earlier in the day. Do not save most of your fluids for dinner and after dinner. Start tapering as evening approaches. Try to make your last real drink 2 to 3 hours before bed. Watch out for caffeine, alcohol, salty dinners, and giant liquid-heavy evening routines. If your legs swell, elevate them in the evening and ask whether compression socks make sense for you. Go to the bathroom right before bed. If needed, try double voiding. If you wake at night, keep the trip calm, safe, and brief. Then go back to sleep without taking more fluid unless there is a real medical reason. That is the strategy. Not stop drinking, not drink less all day. Drink smart. For many seniors, that alone can reduce nighttime trips and improve sleep quality. But I also want to be responsible here. If you are feeling excessively thirsty, losing weight without trying, short of breath, swelling more, having burning with urination, seeing blood in the urine, or waking many times despite doing all the right things, do not just keep experimenting forever. Get evaluated. A better routine is powerful, but it is not a substitute for checking a real medical problem. The good news is that many people improve with these basic changes. Small adjustments, done consistently, can turn a broken night into a much quieter one.
And so the lesson is not merely to drink water, but to drink with timing, intention, and respect for the hour. For the senior who longs for deeper sleep, steadier mornings, and fewer midnight marches down the hall, this is welcome news indeed. The body may change with age, but it still responds to wise routine. And sometimes the path to a better night is not found in a new pill or a dramatic cure, but in a glass set down a little earlier, a pair of legs raised before bed, and a household finally returned to silence.